Over many decades, the Adirondacks as a region has been losing residents. That's partly due to housing and job shortages, coupled with an aging population. But some community leaders say the region's lack of diversity is part of the problem. Around 95% of residents are white. And when you talk to people of color, a lot say they've had negative experiences even just visiting up here, let alone moving here. We talk with the woman who's at the hub of the effort to change that. That's today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Wednesday, November 13th. First up, last week, the Plattsburgh City Council voted against launching an investigation into the police department and the mayor's office. A city councilor and the mayor himself have been trading allegations of misconduct. Kara Chapman reports.
Back in September, Councilor Elizabeth Gibbs sent an email to her fellow councilors accusing the police department and Mayor Chris Rosenquist's office of wrongdoing. Rosenquist alleged it was part of a years-long campaign by Gibbs and other current and former city officials to influence City Hall and the police department. He said he had nothing to hide and called for an investigation to look into Gibbs' claims. Gibbs said the mayor's accusations were politically motivated and about furthering vendettas. At the council meeting last Thursday, several residents spoke out in favor of opening an investigation, which also would have looked into allegations of targeted enforcement by current and former police officers. Among those who spoke was former city councilor Mike Kelly.
In February 22, the Public Safety Committee, of which I was a member, was charged with conducting an investigation into reports of corruption at the city police department.
Kelly said the complaints that were uncovered never went public due to their sensitive nature. He said he expected reports of corruption to cease and that things improved under former interim police chief Bud York. Kelly said it seems those same problems have resurfaced and urged the council to start a new investigation.
Many councilors use the word transparency as their battle cry. Here's a chance to live that transparency.
Resident Cindy Snow said she fully supports an investigation and was especially concerned about the claims of targeted enforcement by current and former officers. She suggested reporting the allegations to the state attorney general's office.
Please do the right thing and investigate this so all the citizens of Plattsburgh are safe.
If the council had approved the resolution, the city attorney would have been tasked with identifying a third party to conduct a 6-month-long investigation and present a report to the council and law enforcement. But most of the council wasn't convinced.
I feel dirty sitting here and witnessing this.
Councilor Julie Bond said she respected the members of the public who voiced support for an investigation, but added that she'd also heard from constituents who said the mayor's calls for a probe were petty and personal. Councilor Jeff Moore, who tuned in remotely, said nothing came out of the previous corruption investigation. He said the mayor is the manager of the police department.
If he has lost control of that department, it's not on the council to get involved in this. I saw nothing that rises to the level of having an investigation. If there is something illegal happening, if there is misdoing happening, then you should report it to the proper authorities at the state. This is not something that we should be getting into.
Councilor Gibbs and Mayor Rosenquist were recused from the discussion and vote on the resolution. It failed 4-1, with Councilor Jennifer Talon as the lone yes vote. After the meeting, Rosenquist told the Plattsburgh Press-Republican newspaper that he would continue to work to find out what happened at the police department. He added that it's the council's responsibility to launch the investigation. In a Facebook post Monday, Gibbs said any wrongdoing can be investigated by the mayor and doesn't require council approval. She said the matter, quote, was never about transparency. It is political theater and a disgrace. Rosenquist has less than 2 months left in office and will be replaced by Wendell Hughes in January. Hughes has said he supports an independent investigation so the findings can speak for themselves. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.
Tiffany Ray Fisher directs the Adirondack Diversity Initiative, which works to make the Adirondacks a more inclusive place for residents and visitors. She sat down with our Diversity Beat reporter David Escobar to discuss her diversity, equity, and inclusion work in the Adirondacks. It started when she was a dance teacher in Lake Placid, and she felt she had a lot to contribute to the community.
I felt that I had an understanding of what the issues were, and I had and have a deep, deep love for this community. I have a lot of faith in this community. I have a lot of hope in this community. I had already been doing a lot of the work anyway, kind of unofficially. And so I was like, let's make it official. Let's see. But it just felt like if I didn't try, it would be a regret. And I do not do well with regret. I really, really, I'm like, I would rather try and fail a million times than not try. But it just felt, especially I was a new mom at the time, and I'd been thinking a lot about the next generation. And whenever my daughter's old enough to have the conversation and she looks back at this time and is like, what is going on? I wanted to tell her that I did everything that I could. And I felt that if I didn't go for this job and if I didn't do that, I would just be someone who was critiquing this place that I love without an action behind it. And that didn't really sit right with me.
For people that have never heard of the Adirondack Diversity Initiative or don't know the work that you're doing, how would you describe it and its importance to the sustainability of the Adirondacks?
When you think of a community, there's certain things that exist, right? Your first point of contact as a visitor or as someone who lives here might be some type of law enforcement. It might just be that speed trap in Keene. It might just, And so we have a training, a cultural consciousness training for law enforcement that operates in all 14 counties. And during the second part of the training, we really drilled down on the history of policing and the history of protest. The point of the training is not shame and blame, but education. And that's what ADI really is about. So that's a program that I'm really excited about. We're starting a micro-credential through the North Country Community College, and it's for small businesses. It is a welcoming and belonging credential, and it helps businesses understand how to be a more welcoming environment, how to welcome not only customers that might be from diverse backgrounds or different backgrounds, but also employees. And, from an economics perspective, people that are typically othered or a little bit more discerning with where they spend their dollars. So if you come to a place and you don't feel comfortable, that's a loss of income. And I think for us to be an economic driver within this region, and this region with an aging population, with families not coming, the economics here, we are in a very particular and precarious place. It behooves us to be a welcoming place and have people come to us and spend that money here. For this area to thrive, people have to love it. They have to fall in love with it. They have to see a future here.
What are some of the new discoveries in new places, new communities, and new issues that you have seen in your work?
Climate justice, I think, is really interesting because there are going to be climate refugees. The topography of the Adirondacks has always provided shelter and safety. I do foresee that coming, and that's why I'm trying to hit the businesses with the welcoming and belonging and the schools and stuff to make sure that they feel welcome so that they can invest in this place for our own survival. If you want to think about it from a very selfish perspective. I also, in general, just think about our LGBTQIA plus youth. I think about our rights and what is your right as someone who is just a human on this earth, and whether that's been challenged ever or not really changes how you think about politics. I think it really changes how you're allowed to move through the world. Something that I think really trips people up is just even the letters of how it's DEI, but it's inverted. It's if you're working from an inclusion and equity standpoint, you will get diversity. Diversity is the outcome.
Tiffany Ray Fisher directs the Adirondack Diversity Initiative. She spoke with David Escobar. We have more news on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Oscar Sarmiento of Potsdam and Bee Children of Canton. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.